Welcome to M Talk, the Millennial Show. I am your host, Vincent Ellis White. Y'all know me as Vinny Blanco. Remember, you can follow me, Vincent Ellis White, on everything. And they're my co-host.
Yes, it's the controversial one, Hoyt Timmons. That's Kwaku. You can follow me on Instagram at Hoyt Timmons. You can follow me on Facebook at Hoyt Timmons, and you can follow me on Twitter at the same tag.
All right, so we want to get right into it because we have some richness at the table around us, and we want to make sure everybody gets introduced properly. So I'm going to allow everybody to introduce themselves very briefly, and then we'll dive more into who they are, what they do later on.
Well, I'm Adele Johnson. I am the interim executive director here at the Black History Museum.
Like a boss.
Thank you very much. Been here about 7 months now.
Okay, 7 months. How's it been so far?
Loving it.
Good?
Absolutely.
Okay. Loving it. Strong. Okay.
My name is Chelsea Higgs Wise. I'm a clinical social worker and community consultant.
Bam.
Yes.
Brother asked. Messing the show up in the beginning. Go ahead.
I'm Al Austin. I'm a native of Virginia, and I'm a retired business executive.
Retired business executive. Okay. I like that.
Awesome. So,
This is for everybody. How important is it for entrepreneurship to be, to happen in the Black community? How important is that going forward?
Well, I think it's critical. I think it's absolutely critical. But I think also that we, all of us, need to be supportive of those businesses.
Correct.
And,
You better snap.
I know. When I first came to Richmond, I ran an organization called Virginia Minority Supplier Development Council. And we looked for minority businesses to help them identify business opportunities with major corporations. I was so surprised and impressed with the number of Black-owned businesses here in Richmond. And I felt almost ashamed because I knew my doctor, I knew my lawyer, I knew my dentist, but I had no idea that there were Black-owned IT companies and Black-owned consultants, health consultants, and just all kinds of things. So I think that, yes, there's a need, but we need to also educate the rest of the community to be supportive, because if we're not supportive, who will be?
So let me ask you this question, and this is for everybody too, but I'm thinking about what you said, and I'm thinking about how there's a lot of new businesses popping up, and they're Black entrepreneurs, which is fantastic, but is it more important to patronize the ones that we have and make sure they're booming and successful before we just see them sprouting up everywhere and then they're not getting supported properly? Or is it just good to continue to have people start new businesses, things like that? Because realistically, I don't know how do we change that? I'm just asking that question because more people are starting to become entrepreneurs, but nobody's patronizing them. And so do we patronize the ones that have already been here for a while?
Well, I think it's incumbent upon the entrepreneur to have a product or service that is worthy of being paid for.
Yeah.
Because what we don't want to do is just give money away just because it's a Black-owned business. We want that service or product that they say they can give us.
And we talked about on one of our podcasts how we're a lot harder on our Black businesses as well. Speak on that if you can.
we are. We put them to a higher standard, and we expect more out of them than we do if we go to Macy's or Lowe's or what have you. Another point I want to put out there, I'm all about Black entrepreneurship, and I'm all about autonomy since we're here in Jackson Ward, hub of Black entrepreneurship. But I also think that whenever we start businesses as Black folks, it has to be done from an African-centered perspective and not just a perspective to exploit and just to make money and just to, buy, these big houses and homes. We also have to be using some of these funds to, redistribute, help things in the community, work with other nonprofits and organizations as well. So I think us as Black people, considering our condition, we have more responsibility with this power of entrepreneurship as well.
I like that. Chester, can you tell us the reason why you chose to go the entrepreneurship route versus leaving your job and taking that route?
I wanted to be able to say whatever I wanted to say. I
And
didn't
not be
want to
politically correct.
and not have a boss be like, you can't put that anywhere. Because I'm very educated, I'm experienced. Nothing that's going to come out my mouth is going to be too crazy. It might be very true. It might offend some people, but I'm offended all the time by people in power. So I literally quit my job because
I
I
love
have
Chelsea.
honed a skill that people pay for, and it also allows me the flexibility to go to session next year to raise my voice because I've been working so long in it. And my idea about saturating the system of entrepreneurs, right? My business, like, you'll never see me wear a Wise Innovation t-shirt. You'll always see me wearing a RVA community t-shirt. Like, that's my thing. If you're going to send me
I've been
a
seeing you
t-shirt.
do it,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I my job is literally to connect community, because we can have there's plenty of money out here for all of these businesses if you diversify your resource, your product, make relationships with people. I go to Brewers Cafe all the time.
Yeah.
Their food and stuff is great, but it's really because I love AJ and I love sitting around and seeing the people.
And you
I
never
see
know
my
who you're gonna
friends.
see pop up in there.
You know, I've made
Tim
the
Kaine was in there
best
one day when I went in
relationship.
there. I'm like,
Oh my gosh, the best people. So my idea about why I do this, because I want to have the voice, and my voice is speaking a lot for Black people.
Yeah.
And then also I want to be able to have the flexibility to support the community about
Indeed.
Black
Yeah.
businesses and give them those resources. Because I'm a social worker. That's all I'm about. Resources.
I love
Well,
it.
I think, and going back to something Adele said, I'm not an entrepreneur. I spent 40 years in corporate America, and I loved it. I think there are two kinds of people, entrepreneurs and corporate people. I was
I
a
do
corporate person. Okay. But I think going back
And nonprofit.
yeah.
Yeah.
And nonprofit.
Don't forget us.
No, definitely.
He said, yeah.
And everyone is important in those roles. Like, it's important to have those.
Sure.
Yeah, so I'm not apologizing.
Gotcha.
for that. But to get back to something Adele said, and I've talked to some entrepreneurs, not a lot, but over the years. But one of the things that I tell them is, you've heard the saying, "Build it and they will come."
Yeah.
That's partially true. I wouldn't build a strategy around it. But the point
Right.
is, you got to have a product or service that people want. And I agree with the brother here. Sometimes we do, and I don't know why. Chelsea might. Sometimes we do hold minority entrepreneurs to a higher standard.
Right.
I'm not so sure that that's always bad, okay? But it may be a little unfair depending on the situation. But I tell entrepreneurs all the time, you've got to have a service and a product that people want. The other thing that I tell, particularly all the minority entrepreneurs, is you don't want. You've heard of marketing myopia. Yeah, you don't want to be narrowly focused either. You don't want to build a service or a product for the Black community or the Jewish community or the Catholic community. If you're gonna have a successful business, it's gonna have to be far-reaching in most cases,
Correct.
and have broad appeal. So I tell them, don't fall into this trap about catering to one group, because it's very dangerous.
So he asked why we hold Black people to a higher
was gonna speak
standard.
on that too. Go ahead.
My view as a clinical social worker is because we can empathize with them. That's what I talked about earlier about empathizing and being able to relate to someone. Because I can relate to you, now I expect you to relate to me. So I expect you to treat me in a way I'm not going to get from someone that doesn't relate to me, that doesn't know my experiences. So yes, I do hold you to a higher standard because of that empathy type of perspective.
Let me
But I
ask
can
you.
tell you that I don't do that. I hold everybody to a high standard.
Okay.
There you
If
go.
you're going to
Yeah.
do business with me,
Growing up in South Richmond, you'll see Black police officers, and they'll go excessively hard on a Black man because it's this thing of proving themselves to the other, to the other white police officers or the people around them. So you have some Black managers where they want excellence out of their employees.
Right.
But you have to be careful, because where does that line lay, or where does the line cross where you have a manager that genuinely wants the best out of you, and then you have a manager that's trying to prove himself to a white establishment by
Say
dogging
that.
out white employees.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Drop a
and-
jewel, Hoyt. Drop a jewel.
that's a good point. But I spent 40 years in the environment that you talk about.
Okay.
And I've had over the years a lot of minorities, not only Blacks but Asians and Latinos and whatever, that work for me. And I'm not suggesting that what you say is not true, but I would suggest a more likely scenario is that in corporate America, to excel, and it doesn't matter whether you're Black, white, orange, or green. To excel, you have got to be better than everybody else. That's just, and it doesn't matter what color you are. That's just the nature of the game. And if you're not willing to play at that level, you're not gonna. Well, you might be able to keep a job, but you're not gonna excel.
The question is that fair?
No, it's a different type of better play the game. Just because you play the game does not mean you are the best at your job. It means you're best at playing the game.
I didn't say
Just to be
play.
clear
I didn't,
about that.
I didn't say anything about playing the game. I didn't use that terminology.
I'm pretty sure you did.
But here's
I said that is the game.
guess-
That's the way the game is played.
Right.
But I guess my issue, I guess the thing, and this ties back into entrepreneurship, is that we have to acquiesce to these games in these corporate environments, and we have to, we have to show deference in environments that are uncomfortable, that's bad for our mental health. And when you say, and I'm not trying to be, juxtapose your argument or your perspective, but essentially what I'm saying is that when you said play the game, you have to excel and be the best. How much, and this is a reality.
You're saying strive, though.
Strive to be the
Right.
best. Don't want to misquote anybody, but essentially, how much does systemic racism and Eurocentric perspectives play in that? Because we know that that's a reality. So when we're telling
He
these,
said it doesn't matter.
but
It doesn't matter what color you are. I know what he said.
but it's
doesn't
there.
matter.
It's there though. It's
Well,
a reality.
That's what he said.
Okay, now I'm going to wade in some more water because I think the instances of systemic racism are few and far apart.
Oh, okay.
I'm so sorry. What just happened? Oh God.
For y'all that are watching,
She's
all right.
I didn't say that.
Fine. I'm
I
fine.
didn't say that they don't exist.
Few and
she had
far
look,
apart.
hey,
is what he
she
said.
had a Wendy Williams moment. She's all right.
Okay,
We need some
but
stronger.
I can guarantee you more often than not, the obstacles to your success are going to be things other than systemic racism.
I'm gonna have to, Mr. Officer. I'm gonna have to respectfully.
Time we got. No, I'm just
And it's getting so good at the
Listen,
end.
this is
I've
my
had part two.
essentially this
We're
is
gonna need a part two.
my point.
We're gonna
In a
do part
world
two.
that was just and that we knew was totally equal, what you are saying will have 100% validity. But we know that you have unfair tactics in HR departments.
Yes.
You have racist management, and you have to address these things as being real issues. As a matter of fact, the fact that we have this economic gap in a lot of our communities that may prevent majority of us from even reaching corporate America in the first place. So it's like a lot of hurdles. And I'm not saying that what you're saying is not true or valid, but we also have to address the abundance of hurdles that we have to go through to get to that place of success as well.
Well, but part of what I'm saying here is when you're going to succeed at anything, whether it's in corporate America or as an entrepreneur, your job, a part of that success, is going to be figuring out what are those things that I have to do, what are those obstacles that I have to overcome. So if there is racism, your job is not to freak back and say, hey, this is
It might
a
be, it might
racist
not,
system, and I'll never, it's to figure out how to deal with it.
Okay, so I'm going to jump in. On my 10 years, I've also been managing people. So I'm going to have this quick story, and this is just a story. I'm just sharing my perspective. I was with a large...
And y'all, after that, we gotta wrap.
Yeah,
it
I
up.
swear, I promise.
We can't
I was
wrap
with
it up now.
A large white... I'm going to have the last word, Mr. Allen. I was with a large mental health company. It was white-owned.
Don't give her the last word.
And it's white-owned, but it was great. So I have always been in management, but I was the only person of color up in the management admin site. Everyone else was in the field that was black. So it was very much like the old school history of in the big house we're white and in the field there were black workers. I was the only person. I kept talking about this. No one listened to me. So my job, what I had to do was take my black program managers and train them into shape. I had separate meetings with them. I say all this now because I don't work with them. And I literally trained them to be the best. And I said, next time there's an open position, you will get up there. And when I left, everybody that I had trained were now my coworkers because I was that determined and I did put that energy into them. And what he's talking about is if it was equal, then yes. And I love you, Brother Al, but the point of the difference is in your generation is mine is that we're about equity, not about equality.
Very important.
Okay, so listen.
I think she just
Drop the mic on you.
She dropped the mic. She dropped the mic.
she just dissed the baby boomers.
So listen, she dropped the mic. So I'm gonna pick the mic up. We're at 51 minutes. So what I want everybody to do is, if you have any upcoming events, if you have any products that you have out right now, I know Brother Al, you got a book. Anybody has anything? This is your time to talk about.
I have a book that's been released recently. It's called "I Did It My Way and You Can Too." It's an autobiography. It's actually a story of my life, but it's a book it's a self-help book, and it's also a book on leadership.
Okay.
And you can get it's available on Amazon, or you can get it by emailing me at austin1001@comcast.net.
Sis Chelsea, do you have anything you want to share?
Sure, I am helping all the Medicaid billing small business owners in the mental health field in Richmond. I've been in this forever. Hit me up, and helping with Google Drive electronic management. Also, just consulting, organizing, anything you need. I do a lot of family advocacy, IAP. Just hit me up on wiseinnovation.org. I also have a big mouth on Facebook, Chelsea Higgs Wise. Friend me, and I'll follow back as well.
All right, Sister Adele.
As I said earlier, we have a lot of events at the museum, but what I want to mention is the fact that we also have rental space.
Yes.
So if you want to have a birthday party, a holiday party, if you want to have a dinner, if you want to have a reception, anything, we can accommodate you. We have space on the first floor as well as second floor, and we can even open the exhibitions up. So please contact us. BlackHistoryMuseum.org and ask for rental information.
Brother Hoyt, how can they follow?
I want to, and I'm also going to be coaching Chelsea on her new enterprise.
Check us out together. You can get both of us. Yes.
How can they follow you, my brother?
Once again, it's the most controversial one. I wasn't that controversial tonight because guests were.
Well, you had me.
But if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram, Hoyt Kwaku Timmons, Twitter, Hoyt Kwaku Timmons, and Facebook, Hoyt Kwaku Timmons as well. Follow me.
And lastly, if you want to follow me, you can follow me, Vincent Ellis White, on everything. Twitter is Vince Ellis White. My book is Finding Chris, My Father, about me growing up dealing with fatherlessness and coming into fatherhood and dealing with things in between in regards to domestic violence, bullying, incarcerated fathers, things like that. You can find me on Amazon, and you can just Google my name and you can get the book and information. And this podcast is now, I'm going to go ahead and seal it for y'all to jump back in. This podcast is now a wrap.
Woohoo!